What's going on, everybody? Eric Lindquist at Stochastic here on the OddsShopper channel, coming to you with a Week 5 Sunday edition of Lindy's Leans, Likes, and Locks. Hit that like button, subscribe button, notification bell. Goes a long way for me on this video. Goes a long way for you. That way you become a prize whenever great content is going live here at our little neck of the YouTube woods. I'm very, very happy that I made that a very, very light Thursday night football game because, again, nothing like betting the money line of the team that leads for 60-plus minutes of the entire thing. In fact, the Atlanta Falcons did not lead a second of regulation or overtime until the whistle blew at the end. Just a ridiculous touchdown at the end there. But yeah, Tampa Bay money line. Couldn't have felt better about that play as that game was going on. Couldn't have felt worse after watching Kirk Cousins, formerly of my Minnesota Vikings, win another primetime game, not with the Minnesota Vikings. But my Minnesota Vikings start off this card here on Sunday. We're going to London, Ontario, a chip something or another. Anyway, Bet365, we'll talk about them a little bit later. Tails, we'll talk about that, of course, here a little bit later as well. That is where you can find all of my plays, including things that are not going to be here on this video, because, again, I don't even know what they're going to be yet, but these are my favorite plays as of right now from every single game. Leans, things I'm thinking about betting, or things that I'm waiting to come to fruition. Likes, those are usually half-unit plays, and then locks, those are generally going to be your full-unit sends, my favorite plays on the board for Sunday. With that being said, Producer Jacob, let's get to the picks. I'm a cautiously optimistic person in life. I would say I'm pretty optimistic in general, but I don't know what to make of my Minnesota Vikings. I almost said Twins. Minnesota Vikings 4-0 coming into this one in London. And now you got the Jets, Jets, Jets. They've been miserable, 10-9. I will say the weather, I think, made them look out a lot worse than where they've been. Torn Achilles, coming into cold, wet, rainy situation there at home against Denver, and Denver had their way along with the Jets there. Braylon Allen starting to cut into Breece Hall's rushing equity, I would say for sure. But as for my Minnesota Vikings, are we saying top 3 coaching staff in all of football? Because Kevin O'Connell and then the combination of Mr. Flores on the defensive coordinator side of things, I cannot believe how good my Vikings have been from the early going. But you go back and watch the tape, other than a second half against Green Bay where they just didn't put the foot on the gas. They basically said 28-0, we're going to pack it in. I hate when teams do that. It's like, do what got you there. Keep playing football. But I suppose you play to the score as well, so I can't get too mad. And my Vikings still won, despite Dontavian Wicks trying to eviscerate us there. Once number of pieces out there for Green Bay. We'll get to that one, of course. But Minnesota, I'm feeling rather good about them here overseas. I think just the coaching itself, what we've seen from the defensive side of the ball, the blitz packaging from Flores, and then offensively getting Jordan Addison back, Aaron Jones playing incredible football and staying healthy. If he stays healthy, this is what that offense will look like. And Sam Darnold, he's tried true veteran now at this point in time. He's been all over the place. Jets to Carolina to San Francisco just for a year to sit with the old pen and paper behind Shanahan. That's a good guy to sit with pen and paper behind. And now it's coming to fruition all at once. So Minnesota, I'm looking at minus 136. I think this is a nice money line piece. In fact, I think this is just kind of a nice section to like, all right, let's just take my Minnesota Vikings here. I get the Jets defense going to be very, very imposing at times. They're playing too good. I don't know what to tell you. Go back and watch the tape. It's absurd. So Minnesota, I think this is a nice parlay piece. Or again, if you want to lay the 2.5, I don't completely hate that either. I get we're 4-0 against the spread. I get that this seems like a trap line. I don't really care. Skull. We've got a couple of like trappy looking lines because again, I'm surprised we're only laying 2.5 for Minnesota. I thought that would get pushed to 3. And I thought this would get pushed to 3 throughout the week too. But, you know, one of those things about NFL spreads, they generally end up getting bet into shape by the time I record on Fridays. You want to check out Lofty's Tuesday video? That is really, really going to be where you can get some of that closing line value on some of these numbers. He's been exceptional at it so far this season. That being said, I think this can be another type money line piece because, well, just like what we had there with Minnesota, I think we can package that with something, but that something for me is going to be in this same football game. As for Cincinnati, do you think they're going to be as bad as what they've been to start off this season? I sure don't, but nice to get in the win column there, even if it is against the lonely Carolina Panthers. Offensively, Carolina bringing some stuff to the table, but Cincinnati, they have no hopes and dreams or wishes of stopping Derrick Henry and company in the running game here. Even Justice Hill coming out of the backfield, catching passes, giving Lamar Jackson a different look, giving this offense a different dimension out of the backfield there. Maybe that'll be Keaton Mitchell here sooner rather than later as well. But for right now, it's still Justice Hill, and it's still a lot of Derrick Henry, who brought it up last time. Just keep betting him anytime touchdown. I didn't have any time touchdowns on week 1. Since that, we've been profitable in that department, even though week 3, week 4, still not good by any means. But Derrick Henry, he was a bright spot in a dim world. And now these prices are starting to catch up. But at minus 160, I get that it's a road game. I get that we've got Baltimore, Cincinnati here. I get it's an AFC rivalry, but 48.5 for a total. You're telling me Derrick Henry and the Baltimore Ravens at this point in time are not finding a way to get him in the box? If he stays healthy, he's going to be that dude. He's that dude. It's the best situation he's had in his entire NFL career, having Lamar Jackson in the backfield with him. Ryan Tannehill, Will Levis. I mean, come on. Come on. Baltimore money line. We're going to package it with the Derrick Henry touchdown. It is called a single game parlay. They are available in all of the places in all of the land. You should be getting this one north of plus 150 immediately. If you're not, reconsider. Indy and Jacksonville up next, and trappy lines. 3 here for Jacksonville. Jacksonville is laying 3 against Indy as an 0-4 Jacksonville team. Peterson has started to lose this locker room. We've seen them play some atrocious football. They should have beat Houston on the road last week. Kind of a disturbing way to end up choking that game away. I think some of the beating of the drum that Trevor Lawrence has lost 9 straight games now, I think it's a little bit overhyped. There are some things that exist with them in Cleveland that I think are a little bit similar. For one, Evan Ingram was going to be a part of this offense. It didn't show out in week 1, but week 2, he gets hurt in pregame warmups. And since then, that's just, I mean, we had the Brendan Strange thing. I could go on in an absolute tirade about that one. 3 targets in the first 15 minutes of the game, 3 catches, 19 yards. We needed 5 the rest of the way, and he doesn't even get a target for 3 quarters. I think that has to do with coaching. I think it has to do with scheme. And sure, Peterson is in charge of all of that, but Trevor Lawrence is not. He's simply going to throw it to his ex-boundary receivers a lot more. Brian Thomas, he's awesome. But then Evan Ingram gives that dimension from the seam, kind of out of the slot, giving Evan Ingram an opportunity here. We'll see if he suits up. He is questionable. Practiced in the limited capacity here Thursday, Friday. Him and David Njoku. Again, those are 2 tight ends that I think once they get back will help out their struggling quarterbacks. Deshaun Watson, what are you doing, bro? Actually, not a lot can help him out. Trevor Lawrence, I think, is less of a lost hope. But the big news on the Indy side of things, Trey Sermon, going to be your starting running back more than likely here in this one. Well, actually, he will be your starting running back for sure. His rushing props are probably going to get juiced to the moon. I've got him at 77.5 rushing yards right now. And that is just assuming like a 75%, 80% snap share for him. There's no Jonathan Taylor. That's what we're getting at here. And that's why we're seeing this line fall to this level. Anthony Richardson sounds like he's good to suit up for this one. However, that hit pointer, pay attention to it. Joe Flacco, that might be a good in-game under to take on an Anthony Richardson if he doesn't look right. Those are the kind of things you can do in NFL that I think are more effective than any other sport, purely because you're able to take advantage of it live. And it generally is very obvious to the naked eye if somebody is not mobile, who's generally mobile. Maybe take some rushing unders, maybe take some other unders. Books will be paying attention to that, but live lines, they kind of get hung up by the algo, and, well, the eye test is going to be manageable there. So we're going to just stay away from this game for right now. Indy +3 purely because I don't see how an 0-4 Jacksonville team is laying 3 here at home. I get Richardson's been brutal. I get the Indy defense has been brutal, but Jacksonville dinged up the running back position with Bigsby and Etienne, and then just the problems with Trevor Lawrence and the offensive play calling, I would call it more so. But if Evan Ingram ends up in, I do think that give them enough ammunition that, yeah, I think the line would look a little bit more conscious for me. So just a pass all the way around. Miami, New England, 1.5 point favorites, or 1 point, depending on where you look. 1 point, singular, Eric. It's a singular word. But we've got the Dolphins. Skylar Thompson, it sounds like, is good to go, but he's going to be backing up Tyler Huntley for a second straight week. Huntley, hey, +350, cash that one in the premium Discord. And the tails, we'll talk about tails here by OddsShopper after this segment. But this is one that just scream stay away to a certain extent. We have some low numbers. Look at the Tyreek Hill numbers. 55.5 for him. Waddle, 39.5. You've got Devon Achane. Oh, that's the best play that I have from this one, so I'll just bypass that. As for New England, we have major coach speak that has Ramondre Stevenson and Antonio Gibson props not on the board right now. What is that coach speak? They're saying that because of the fumble issues, 4 fumbles in 4 games here for Ramondre Stevenson, they might be going to a more Antonio Gibson-laden workload. Now, we've seen Antonio Gibson a number of times in the past, Washington, but I don't love Antonio Gibson as your lead back. I don't think most people would, but there is a dinged up Dolphins team all the way around. And I think that this is one that looks pretty efficient when you take into effect all of these injuries. I mean, we have Armstead questionable. That's huge at the tackle position for them. Riley and Fuller there in the defensive side of things. You got Tua still on the IR. You got Mostert questionable to suit up for this one, which would give Devon Achane a little bit of a workload reduction to some extent, but I still look at Achane. 22.5 receiving yards is too low of a number. Huntley, yeah, we see his wheels. I mean, he averaged over 8 rushing attempts with Baltimore, but I got to say, in Miami, it was nice to cash the plus 350. We're not going to be running that back at reduced numbers. 36.5 total. Disgusting football game. Really hard to find any value because as you bring the totals down and you bring some of those rushing and passing props down, they get extremely efficient because there's only so much more room for it to go up, as opposed to these numbers that are set high where you can short them. That'll be something that shows up on Portfolio EV. So for me, Devon Achane, 22.5 receiving yards. I would like that play if I knew Mostert was out. I think Mostert probably suits up for this one. Getting to 2 and 3 wouldn't be apocalyptic for them. New England is an apocalyptic football team, but they're 1.5-point favorites here for a reason, so we're going to be very light on this one as well. If I do have anything show up from the previous 2 games, it'll show up in tails. That is 50% off your first week or month using code Lindy50. That is Lindy50. That gets you 50% off your first week or month with me in that Discord and the daily picks. I'm throwing in pick'em cards every day. I'm throwing in my bets every single day. Everything you could possibly want in one easy to find place and a great community with a lot of sharp people throwing a lot of bets out there here recently that I absolutely love. Daily picks plus premium Discord, $10 that is for your first week, $25 for your first month at the link below. Tails by OddsShopper. Tail, some of the best in the industry. Alrighty, y'all, back to the picks. Jayden Daniels, MVP consideration. Jayden Daniels and the Washington Commanders hosting Cleveland as 3-point favorites. This will definitely be a testy little subject because, well, Jayden Daniels, he's a rookie. He's really good. And you bring that dimension of like long Cliff Kingsbury, air raid offense, whatever you want to call it, from back in the day, Texas Tech to Arizona, and now here in Washington as an offensive coordinator. Things are much better for him just calling plays. You kick your feet up on that desk, just don't be a head coach again. It's kind of the McDaniels thing. It's kind of playing itself out here with Cliff. So I find that to be a little bit intriguing, just that sometimes these offensive-minded guys, they don't necessarily understand the personnel development. They don't understand necessarily how to go about building a defense. But there's no question that he can put together a game plan offensively that plays into Jayden Daniels' skill set. But there's some major news all over the place with this football game. And I'm basically going to start my breakdown here because Cleveland, they're defensively going to bring a lot of different looks that we haven't seen Jayden Daniels have to necessarily deal with yet. In fact, 27th in strength of schedule here to start off the season for Washington. It's not that they've played absolute nobodies, but they've played more nobodies than the average bear. We're talking Tampa Bay, the Giants, Cincinnati, Arizona. I think 2 of the 4, we could put Cincinnati, even though they're 1 and 3, probably going to be 1 and 4 coming off of Baltimore. We're hoping so. And then Tampa Bay on the road there, 1 game that they ended up dropping there, but winners of 3 straight, 3 road games. So this is only their second home game here. And yet it's going to be dicey here with Brian Robinson. I think he's going to be a true game time decision. Didn't practice out of the middle of nowhere on Wednesday, Thursday. Didn't practice Friday, not even limited, just going to be a game time decision. He is very live to miss this one. And in fact, it's led to this chain effect that I don't know if I can remember seeing this big of a discrepancy in the marketplace. And I'm sure people with their algos and people sitting there over on a spot like Portfolio EV, where you can see the odds discrepancy, there are red flashing signals that say, what the hell is going on with this number? Anytime touchdown for Austin Eckler. He missed week 4 with a concussion, been dinged up a little bit, but week 5, he is a full go, practiced in full capacity this week. I don't see how we don't think he is the massive lead back in any spot where Brian Robinson misses this game. As such, between Cleveland and Washington, we're talking McLaurin, we're talking Cleveland on the other side, Jerome Ford, Donta Foreman, doesn't matter who it is that we're pointing to. The most likely person to score a touchdown from this entire game with a 43.5 total, not exactly 0, 43.5 total, not a sub 40 like we've seen in a couple of these spots on the board for week 5. He's the most likely guy. Austin Eckler is the most likely guy to score a touchdown from this football game. He is priced plus 180 at Caesars right now. At DraftKings, plus 105. At FanDuel, plus 110. That is a gigantic disparity. And generally speaking, this would get bet into shape. Now, obviously, it's a one-way market for a lot of books. And as such, they can set the price wherever they want. There doesn't have to be a boundary on the bottom end. And that sucks as us for bettors, because you can at least have that range of outcomes where you know that a book's going to be pricing it and they expect it to be priced within that range. However, plus 180 you have to be getting in order to make this a lock. Now, I haven't done this at all this season. I did it a couple of times during the MLB, but lean like lock. I'm putting them in succession here. Look at that. Lean like lock. Listen to me very closely. If you get better than plus 150 on Austin Eckler, go ahead and lock this for a full unit, because regardless of Brian Robinson being out or not, you have an opportunity to make yourself some major coin. A lot of outs for him there, where I don't think you're going to get McNichols mixing in as much for the passing downs with Eckler back. Plus 125 or better. We're looking at the like section. That's something that's going to be sitting there. I know that these are pretty strict, imaginary type boundaries, but trying to project out the workload, trying to sim this game, very, very difficult, because I don't know what Brian Robinson's exactly workload is going to be, even if he is active. And that would lead me to anything inside of plus 125, where those public books are right now, plus 105, plus 110 at DraftKings and FanDuel, respectively. You just stay away and you don't even play it. So huge range of outcomes for Austin Eckler here, but I think he gets a ton of work. And plus, Robinson, he got taken off the field quite a bit in passing downs for McNichols. So got to say, Austin Eckler, passing down extraordinaire, won't have those same kind of problems. Who, darling, we just went from a long lock, might not make under 21 minutes after all. Shout out to producer Jacob. He took the over. I'm looking at Buffalo. I'm looking at Houston. This is going to be one of the games of the week. We're all excited for this one. Get your popcorn ready. 3-1 Buffalo, 3-1 Houston, and Buffalo only 1.5 point dogs going into Houston. Brought this up last week. I'll bring it up again here. I start to look at some of the adjusted strength of schedule numbers. Buffalo's played a pretty easy schedule, 28th so far PFF grading, but Houston's at 26th. They haven't exactly had to run the gamut. Outside of my Minnesota Vikings, been a pretty simple schedule for them as well. I think this is going to be a who basically is the truth between these two, and I don't know what to do with that. But what I can do something with is analyze Buffalo without one piece, a massive piece, in fact, that's going to be missing for him. It's Khalil Shakir, going to be out for week 5, and that leads into a couple of different things for me. First off, who's going to play the slot? I think there's only one candidate to be playing the slot a lot, and it's a guy that they gave a lot of money to in the offseason, and I'm surprised has had such a low snap share to start off, but I mean, they kind of made it evident that Khalil Shakir is a guy that they really like. His name is Curtis Samuel. Curtis Samuel should be on the field a bunch. He should get the slot, kind of fits the same build mold as Khalil Shakir, and as such, I don't see how we don't jam 27.5 receiving yards here. I've got him closer to 50 because you go from like a sub 25, sub 35% snap share up to like 75, 80% for Josh Allen in the slot without Khalil Shakir, who's been like a target hog for them, even over the likes of Dalton Kincaid. Curtis Samuel is going to be the dude here up against Houston. In Houston, we saw them have some issues with Christian Kirk out of the slot. Some of these other pieces on the Jacksonville side, Brian Thomas on the outside. Oh, speaking of such, Keon Coleman, I also think is listed too low at 40.5 receiving yards. So Keon Coleman, 40.5 receiving yards on the X boundary on the outside. I think he has a chance to go for north of 50 because I've got him at 54. Behind Curtis Samuel at 50 plus. So just saying, that is a gigantic slam for me. Your lock and a like in the same game. 1.5 units wrapped up in this one. What could possibly go wrong? Oh yeah, Josh Allen and Mr. Cook just running the ball a million times outside. Now we'll make up some time as we head to Carolina, Chicago, and another running back situation with DeAndre Swift / Roschon Johnson. A lot of coach speak there, but sometimes being able to get pushed and slapped in the behind that you're not doing very well and you're not performing well, it can be a positive. I think it's a positive for a lot of people in the world that can't spank kids anymore, but whatever. Anyway, Roschon Johnson, he ends up not playing nearly as much as what was sounded like they were going to say in week 4. Glad we didn't end up taking any shorts on DeAndre Swift there in the end of it, because it could have gotten very, 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 very dicey there. Swift finally had that breakout game, and sometimes you just need to be reminded that you're replaceable. Running backs are always replaceable, except for Christian McCaffrey. Carolina plus 3.5. Speaking of running backs, Chuba Hubbard, he's the best they've got over there in Carolina by far. Back-to-back 100-plus games. And what are we getting this number at? Against a Chicago team that absolutely cannot stop the run in any way, shape, or form. They can get after the quarterback from time to time, but so far 108.5 rushing yards per game. This is not egregious. No, that's the wrong one. Clicked on the wrong. No, I had it right the first time. Yeah, 108.5 rushing yards per game. We're going to get Chuba Hubbard for 80% plus of those touches. So why not 59.5 rushing yards? Or 59.4. That's hilarious. Please keep that, producer Jacob. Next game, the Vegas Raiders taking on the Denver Broncos in this one. And gotta say, nothing stands out to me here either. I just talked about it with the low variance of that last game, Miami, New England. And sure, these are the games where you should be looking at some overs because they might be just betting into way down. Like, the public perception of certain games is just hilarious and how it affects some of these numbers, more so in the NFL than other sports because of how much money is there. But still, I got to think that by week's end, by Sunday, we're going to have a perfectly efficient total here. I think 36.5 is about where I'd put this one. So we'll see if that fluctuates. 37.5. I doubt it gets down to 35.5. That would just be ludicrous at this point in time. Ludicrous speed. Love Spaceballs. But the Vegas Raiders, Alexander Madison, he's going to be playing a lot here without Zamir White, who sounds doubtful for this one. In Denver, McLaughlin, just basically talking a lot of running backs today for whatever reason, but they're some of the best props on the board this week. Under 36.5. I have nothing from this one. Please do not bet this. It's disturbing. Next. This is an under I can get behind. Arizona, plus 7.5, heading to San Francisco. We'll say in the stochastic projections, we have Brock Purdy for the most passing yards, just north of 265. 365 would be a terrible projection. But San Francisco, George Kittle sounds like he's not going to suit up for this one. We haven't seen the Hadouken Ayuk game yet, which I'm waiting for, Street Fighter season. That would be great, but Juwan Jennings, he's had his ballistic game. We had Kittle last week, play some really fantastic football, and Jordan Mason. Well, Jordan Mason's going to be on my card in some capacity. If you want to find out how, you want to go down below. But I do think the air gets taken out of the football quite a bit on both sides. I don't think Arizona wants to push the pace with a team that has Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk. Apparently, Juwan Jennings is that dude. And Brock Purdy playing some really high-level football. Watch the tape, everybody. Watch the tape. I think Mina Kimes actually did a really good breakdown of that. If you want to go check that out, Brock Purdy just playing a lot better this year, making great decisions, and he was playing good last year, too. Shout out Iowa State. Everybody from Iowa State does great things. Anyway, we like the under 50.5 here. I think Jordan Mason is live to just carry the ball 25 times in this one. I think James Conner, no regard for humanity. I'm sure Arizona wants to slow down the pace if they were to get up a score or two. Under 50.5 looks like a lot. Looks like a lot to my... Yeah, 50.5. I really like that one. That's really all I have to say. Bet 365. If you're in Colorado, Louisiana, Virginia, Kentucky, New Jersey, Arizona, Ohio, Iowa, Indiana, Pennsylvania, or North Carolina, come on and raise up, take your shirt off, twist around your head, spin it like a helicopter, and then bet 5. Get yourself $200 in bonus bets at Bet 365. Again, it just went live in Pennsylvania. It's been in North Carolina there for a hot second. It's been in all of these states otherwise for a hot second. And, well, if you want to get $200 of exposure, all you have to do is bet 5, get yourself $200. Plus, for some of these primetime games, they've had some ridiculous single-game parlays going on here. We're talking 3 legs. You build something that gets plus 100 or better there, and they give you $10 back in bonus bets for every touchdown scored. That is an unbelievable deal, friends. Bet 5, get 200 at Bet 365 at any of the states that were just listed. Only for 21 and over, 18 and over in Kentucky. If you have a gambling problem, please call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Back to the picks we go. Hit the like button, subscribe button, notification bells. We talk the Green Bay Packers and the Los Angeles Rams. And Green Bay, Romeo Doubs dinged up for this one now as well. Christian Watson going to be out here. Not going to put him on IR, so he has a chance to return sooner rather than later. But oh my God, is it Dontavian Wicks season? Holy crap. Now, he didn't push over like the 75% of snaps that we thought potentially could be coming if one of those guys was out. But Romeo Doubs being, well, he's not even dinged up. It's a personal reason that he's been missing practice. I don't know what's going on with him. I'm sure something will come out Saturday or Sunday that we'll find out exactly what's going on, because we always do with football players. But Jaden Reed and Dontavian Wicks could look ridiculous here. Also, Josh Jacobs trying to establish the run against a pretty lucid little Rams defense. But Kyren Williams, friends, this is an awesome Kyren Williams spot. Most spots are good Kyren Williams spots because he gets 100% of the snaps at running back here lately, and I think that just continues. Blake Corum is on special teams, apparently, even though congrats on your national championship last year. That's going to be your favorite football memory of the last 2 years, unless you return a punt for a touchdown in the playoffs. But the Rams aren't going to get there. I'm talking to myself. Kyren Williams gets to go up against a rushing defense that I think is worse than what it's looked. 109.3 yards per game. But in this 4-game sample size, yes, they had the Saquon Barkley evisceration, but they've had 2 second halves where they basically just packed it in. They just basically had to completely pack it in and just stop 6-7 man boxes where you basically had 28-0 coming out of that Minnesota game. The second half that doesn't look as good. I think Kyren Williams with 100% of snaps is very live for 100 plus here. Now his 84.5, I think, is a great play here as well, but might be pushing the boundaries. And I'm putting him as a lean here because I don't know if I want to ladder. I don't know if I can attach anytime touchdown to anything else on the board, but I haven't bet anything here yet. So I can't just say that I like it because that would be lying. I'm a man of honor and integrity and a man of Kyren Williams here somehow, some way. The Giants, 6.5 going up against Seattle here. I'm making this a lean like. I am going to be betting this as soon as we get off this program. The more I stare at this, the more I rerun it, it is going to be brutality for Daniel Jones. Now, for those who remember, 2 years ago, Daniel Jones went in against my Minnesota Vikings and found ways to be successful in the playoffs. It was absolutely disturbing, but he has no Devin Singletary for this one. It's going to be Tyrone Tracy Jr. more than likely heading that backfield. Yeah, you're looking at me just talking running back all day. As for Seattle, they just come off of a great primetime football game there. Geno Smith is playing fantastic football. Lions are on a bye, so Seattle back at action. But Kenneth Walker, 3 tutties, looked fantastic himself, doing great things. DK Metcalf, but Malik Neighbors is going to be out for the Giants, and I don't know how the Giants move the football here in any way, shape, or form. I kind of like the under as well now after that news. Seattle, bet it. The Dallas Cowboys rounding this one out up against the Pittsburgh Steelers, and let's go through the litany laundry list of issues that we have now. Brandon Cooks going to be out here for the Dallas Cowboys side of things. Well, let's get into some of the more nuanced skill position players, shall we? Because Dexter Lawrence, don't know if you've heard of him. He's important. He's going to be out. And then perhaps the most important player on the defensive side of any football team, Micah Parsons. Doubtful for this one. We're talking a guy that edge rush and just can do so many things for this football team. I have no clue how the Dallas Cowboys got to where they are right now. I just think they're a bad football team. They're an especially bad football team without Dexter Lawrence and Micah Parsons on the field. I can tell you that much. As for Brandon Cooks being out, who ends up getting more of that? I think Jalen Tolbert is probably going to be your main beneficiary. Saw 34.5 for some of his receiving yards. I think I'm just going to show a little bit of restraint and show a little bit of respect here to Dallas and Pittsburgh. I think if I do anything, single game parlays attaching everything from Dallas and Pittsburgh together makes the most sense because Justin Fields is balling out. And you can say what you want about Justin Fields in Chicago. You can say what you want anywhere else. It comes out on the tape. Justin Fields is making quicker decisions than he ever made before. Now, part of that might be Mike Tomlin is scary. Mike Tomlin scares me, so it makes sense. But another part of this could be just Arthur Smith understands running the football, even if it's ineffective, gets away from having Justin Fields have to make too many difficult decisions. It's down and distance. It's finding ways to move the sticks. It's not being perfect. It's not taking massive deep shots. In fact, we've seen him play pretty close to the line of scrimmage. George Pickens wins in one-on-one. Pat Freiermuth finds the seam. Everything's good in terms of some of that passing offense. In fact, thought they were going to find a come from behind victory there in Indy the other week, but now 3-1 Pittsburgh, now hosting Dallas. Pittsburgh's winning the football game. It's disturbing. I was very wrong about this football team purely because I thought offensively they wouldn't have anything with Arthur Smith at the helm, but they're playing to their style. 43.5, another bigger than I expected total for what it's worth. But Pittsburgh and Justin Fields. Justin Fields is going to have that 100-plus rushing game sooner rather than later. He just is going to have a scamper that goes the entire distance. I think this is a pretty live spot to be looking at some of those type plays, like some real rushing ladders on him, because, again, no Micah Parsons is a disaster for the Cowboys. And that does it for a nice tight 30-minute edition of Lindy's Leans, Likes, and Locks in the NFL Sunday streets. Head to the comment section below. Let me know your favorite plays that exist on the board for this 12-game Sunday slate that we have before you. I'll be back for Monday Night Football alongside producer Jacob. Good to see you, my friend. Until next time, I'm Eric Lindquist. Oh, and check out MLB Lindy's, of course. It's playoff season. I'm Eric Lindquist. Best of luck in the NFL streets on Sunday.